Back with another episode of Keeping Current with Kansas City. This is Bell from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. Daniel Sperry is on the other side of my computer screen. Well, he's kind of in the lower half of it, but I'm kind of used to that view. Anyway, he's from the KC Star. Wonderful person, and we seem to see each other every day. How are you, Mr. Sperry?
I'm doing well. We did not see each other Friday, and you should be happy you didn't see me Friday because the old stomach bug got to Daniel, and it was not fun.
And wasn't your kid sick a couple days before that?
Yep, it she was. Usually I can escape it, but sometimes not, and
Maybe it
apparently it
wasn't
was
just
this
food
one.
poisoning this time, huh?
Yep, we'll go with that.
All right. Well, hopefully you are all better, and we are
Mhm.
ready to talk Kansas City Current in the short lead up time to the first game at CPKC Stadium.
Yes,
See how good I've been about calling it CPKC Stadium?
you're a real company man, Thad.
After this week, I'll just call it Current Stadium.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. All the traffic issues, the parking is either behind us or in front of us. Roster is pretty much set. The roster due date, compliance date is Friday, I believe. And the only changes to the roster from what it's been is signing two draft picks, Hope Heisey and Ellie Wheeler. What do you know about them? What do you want to say? Anything?
Uh, yeah. Outside of, I mean, it was very the fact that Brittany Eisenhower, the fact that she kind of retired after a week of training camp, and the fact that Ella Makovich was, or Hallie Makovich was injured. It seemed pretty obvious that Hope was going to get signed to the open goalkeeper spot. Unsurprising that Jordan has been recalled from her loan, as Brisbane's season is now done. Oh, goodness, yawn.
Well,
We're
it's not
recording late
done.
at night. Well, it's not done.
They have three more games.
Hmm.
Did she play the fourth to last game? Fourth, whatever that is. The fourth.
Yeah.
They have three more games. She finished off the fourth to last game, whatever that is, and they lost 2-0. Uh, they
Hmm.
they are technically not eliminated from the playoffs, but they are probably not going to make it.
Yeah. Um, it makes sense. The only other goalkeeper that was in the equation in camp was an under 18 player, and you really don't want to go in, honestly, to the season with an under 18 player or rookie, and behind AD. So recall is expected. Um, Silkowitz did well over there. I think a lot of people at the team, well, it seemed like a lot of fans liked her. Sounded
Yes.
like she was doing really well over there. So, um, good to have her back. Is a backup keeper though, right? 80 is the first choice still there. And then Ellie Wheeler gets signed in as a fullback. I think she's played a lot during camp, and so um, Flacco knows how to use her, knows where to use her, and I think it's a good draft pick when they drafted her. So yeah, kind of unsurprising that these two players got signed. They also had two remaining roster spots open that they could sign players to, because it's very likely, almost, I would say 99.9% sure, that Mallory Weber and Hannah Glass are going to be on season ending injury list to start the season, which means they don't need active roster spots open for them.
Correct. But I think that would leave them with one open spot right at the moment. If when they have if I counted that up correctly, I think Desi coming off will leave them one open spot. But you and I sometimes have to argue the math out a little bit. You're giving me a look like you think
Sure,
I'm wrong.
I am, because I'm checking my roster tracker that I've got. Double checking.
All right. So while you do that,
Anyways,
let's oh to go back to Hope Heisey for a second. I
Mhm.
know they've liked her in camp and stuff like that. Jordan would probably be the number two because she has actual real professional game experience at this point. But one thing I didn't realize, and I totally had overlooked when they drafted Hope, was that she played under former FCKC player Becca Moros at the University of Arizona, college in
Cool.
Arizona, whichever one it is. And anyway,
Yeah.
former FCKC player, so a little connection there with the coach.
Interesting.
I know. I didn't catch that until just a couple days ago.
Well, there you go.
I know. Does pay to actually keep looking at things. Moving forward, I know you have several, a few, a bunch, a couple questions that you wanted to pose.
I do. You know that feeling of when you're about to sneeze? That's what I've got coming on right now. It's not great. Anyways, so I've got four questions for you. So we're going to pose. There's some season prediction type questions. As we are approaching, we are in match week number one. Everything is now match day minus 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 1, whatever you want to call it. At this point, I'm gonna start this off for you. Who scores more goals this year? Debinha. You have three options. You have Debinha, Hammy, or a wild card, and you can take the wild card and say neither of the two it will be, and you have to tell me those players.
I'm going
So who's
wild
your pick?
card and Temois.
Okay. Okay. I could see it. She
Uh,
scores goal. I mean, she led the entire world in goals scored last in the calendar year of 2023. So valid. Why?
well, you gave part of the reason, although I don't have a lot of faith that China League matches up with NWSL. I know she got at least one goal in preseason, but saw her score a really nice goal the other day in practice. So I'm just going to go with her.
Okay.
Besides, I got to be contrarian
Uh,
and not go with what everybody else does.
that's fine. I would say if I had a wild card pick, I probably would have ended up with I probably would have landed on her as well. Michelle Cooper also in the mix. I think at some point she finds her goal scoring boots. I remember a couple of years ago when they were in the playoffs, made their way to the NWSL championship game. They had three players tied at the top with 7 goals each. They've got a lot of goals. They could have a lot of players in the mix here. I am going to go with Debinha though. I think it's hard to see her not flourish. I think, honestly, considering the fact that she was not starting in the W Gold Cup championship game and she got 10 minutes to make an impact in a championship game by a coach, I think she's going to come into the season with a fire lit under her. I'm absolutely blown away that they chose to do that. They never used her correctly the entire tournament, anyways. They didn't play through her. They had her out on the wing. It was kind of in no man's land, and I am perplexed at the decision there for that and watching the Gold Cup. And so for me, I'm looking at Debinha, and I'm going to say I think she's going to come out on fire and light a fire right away. So she's the kind of player that I expect to do that. So I'll say
I
her.
So conspiracy theory, I think the South American teams were told they could not win it all, otherwise they'll never be invited back.
that's a fun. That's a real tinfoil moment for you, Thad.
Just want to see if I can get that started on Reddit somewhere.
Okay, next one.
Oh,
Uh,
pause for a
speaking.
second.
Oh, go ahead.
If I was going to
Go
take
ahead.
another wild card, I might have taken Bia
Okay, I can see that too.
because she might
I
connect really well with somebody who's going to come into the play in WSL after not being happy with the Gold Cup. She might come in
mhm,
really pissed and get a lot of, good setup. All right, next question.
yeah. So this is speaking of Debinha. We're gonna keep with this one. Over or under goal contributions from Debinha this year, 12 and a half.
Really good question. I hate to think this long, but I will say over.
Okay.
I'm
So you're gonna
optimistic. I want
say
to see goals.
13 or more.
Yes.
Yeah, 13 or more. I for me taking that, I will say for me taking Debinha as the top scorer, I'm gonna say yes as well. Um uh I I think last year um was what it was, right? It was not great. It was pretty much Debinha scoring for a while or nobody scoring. And Debinha, when the other people scored, Debinha was not on the field. So I am curious to see what her numbers look like. This is a player that's a 10 goal, 10 assist type player in the NWSL. I would be shocked to see. I'd be shocked if there was less than 15 goal contributions this year from Debinha. A great player, and so we're looking forward to what she does on the field. That was kind of an easy one, a layup. I'll give you that one. Over or under points this year. So last year, the playoff line was actually 36 points, which is what the current had in 2020, 2022 when they made the run to the NWSL championship. They made the playoffs with that. So I'm going to get this. We're going to go here. We're going to go an average of the last two seasons. Over under 33 points accrued this season.
I will definitely go with over. I mean, I have no qualms
Okay.
on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with over as well. I could see 40 points from this team, maybe. Again, it's very hard once you to a team that's made so many changes to kind of like judge what we're gonna see on the field until we actually see what we're gonna see on the field. But yeah, I think this team should be a lot better than they were last year, and that should result in uh, a good amount of points this year.
Yeah, and obviously we have to caveat this is just kind of for fun because, like you said, you don't really know any team. I mean, last year the Current were supposed to be the best team in the league coming into the season. They won the offseason. They made all these signings. They did this, they did that, and then they couldn't even keep coaches on the field. So
Yeah.
that was supposed to be funny.
All
It
right.
really wasn't.
No, it's okay. You're right. They couldn't.
Um,
Um,
and you do know how many Debinha got last year, though, right?
how many did Debini get last year?
9.
Nine. Nine goal contributions total.
You know how the top goal scorer top was?
It was low last year because
It was.
not like the number was low, not low Labonta. The number for Golden Boot last year was pretty low compared to it was Caroline, right?
Sophia Smith.
Sophia again. Sophia had like 18 something like that and like almost 20 something contributions in 22. But what did
In
she have last year?
22, uh, Alex Morgan was the golden boot with 16, Sophia Smith with 15, Debinha with 12.
Okay, there you go. How many did Sophia
And
have
that's
last year?
and that is regular season, not including Challenge Cup. And
Yeah,
there is technically more games this year, but not by a ton.
not by a ton. Anyways, next question, final one. Who is the starting right back and the starting six by the end of the season for your Kansas City Current?
All right. I tell you what, I'm gonna say my six. It will be Claire Claire Hutton. Right
Jumping on the
back.
hype train.
Right back. Man, that is the toughest one, actually. Of the entire back line, and I know we've talked about this to a certain extent before, the center backs are tough to decide because I consider all four of them potential starters. However, it'll probably be starters at the beginning of the season will probably be Ball and Balasager. Who knows what it'll be by the end of the year? Izzy on the left for right now. Right? Oh man, Mace will probably be the starter. But if Glass ever gets healthy, big if. Ellie Wheeler, I don't want to count on a rookie coming in and being a starter by the end of the season, but she could be. Depends on what happens the rest of the season. Just for fun, I will say Ellie will be the at the end.
Okay, going young. Why Claire?
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So, whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So, download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
From everything people talk about her, from what I've seen of her, from her confidence, from her uh, play I've seen in the little bit of practice we've been able to see, I think she has a really high upside. And I think she could end up being that deep lying playmaker like Loera was, but maybe uh, even more precise and young.
Yeah, I fully buy in to the Claire Hutton hype, and I won't be surprised if she is. I'm just gonna go for contrarian's sake. I'll have to say Desi. I think she gets fit. I think she gets fit, and really gets into form as well. Obviously, she is fit now. She's good to play, and she should be starting the season off of the injury list and on the roster. But um, I just think her leadership as the season goes on, having her leadership and experience, and if her fitness, her match fitness is at a level that can carry, um, 60, 75 minutes, um, who she is as a player on the field is just invaluable when she's on. And I think that's a really, for a team that maybe down the stretch is really trying to grind out and win points, and maybe going into some tough places on the road, got playoffs on the line and playoff seeding on the line. There's at some point, I know young players got to be trusted and given that opportunity, but we'll have Claire Hutton played at this intensity for this long of her life as a never.
No.
And so, Desi's done that, and that's the kind of player that you rely on down the stretch. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Desi is that person. I wouldn't be surprised if Claire is that person, because I think Claire is just incredibly talented. And her staying healthy, she should be in the mix for that. Sophie Braun, maybe an outside shot at that. I'll be curious to see more of her in that position. She looked fine as a center back for Argentina at times, but she's a center back there, and that's not what she plays with the current. But really, Claire and Desi, I think, are the two to really kind of think they're right back. I'm gonna say Haley Mace, because I just don't. One, I think she's too dangerous of a player to keep off the field, and that seems like the best position to really balance out everything for her. Um, I personally am never really a fan of the inverted foot for fullbacks very much. I don't. I think it's a little too sketchy, a little too dangerous at times. And I think, if you're a right-footed player, you should be on the right side. That gives you that much. It allows you to use the touch line to your defensive side and to your advantage. And I think those are uh, that's a key part of building out of the back. A key part of the system is to have that width that way. So I'm curious to see what happens with Hannah Glass and her health. I think if healthy, she could give Mace a run for her money. But Haley is, when she's on the field, she's dangerous. When she's given freedom, she's really dangerous. So it'll be interesting. At the first part of the year, I expect to see a lot of Haley there. So, we'll see how it works. But yeah, man, I don't know. I like Ellie. I think she's a good player. I think she'll be a good player, but there's too much other talent at the position. And then even Mallory Weber potentially in the mix at some point. There's too much talent at that position, I think, for in the long run for Ellie to be the starting right back, unless literally entire injury disaster happens at that position further. So
Well, it doesn't need to be an injury disaster because you still have some of those players that are not healthy. And we don't know if they will ever be 100% fit for this season. I
yeah,
mean, again, I wish them well, especially like Mallory Weber, who's heartbreakingly been injured minutes into each season for her, right? So I would
Yeah.
love for her to come back and just dominate and take over one of those spots. I would still prefer Mace farther up the field. We've talked in length last year about how she was not it was not her strength to be an outside back in a back four. If she was an outside back, it was better to be in a five because there was more people back there to assist her in defending, and she could have more freedom to go forward. So while I know that that's probably where she's going to start, I just don't know if that's where she's going to end up.
Yeah. That's right.
And so that's the biggest unknowns, I think, is that outside back spot, especially on the right. I think
Mm-hmm.
while we don't know where all those other players are going to fit in the midfield, I think it's less unknown because there's at least 5 starters in there, 5 potential starters, maybe more.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the prediction or thought that Claire Hutton might be the 6 at the end of the year. If she's not the
Mm-hmm.
6 at the end of the year, I think she still is a regular starter somewhere in that midfield.
Okay. That's fair.
And again, could be very wrong. Was that was your last question? Really?
Yeah, that was my last question.
Man, I thought you were going to have like a bunch. All right, I'll throw
Ah,
one back at you. What is going to be
okay.
the formation?
Ooh.
Because that would inform also some of those other thought processes. Now, you want me to stall and give you time to think, or I'm sure you've already thought about this.
I've thought about this. I think it's going to end up being a 4-3-3. That I don't see Vlaco playing any other way. I could see it looking in a way a little bit more narrow, more like a 4-1, like a 4-3-1-2 or a 4-1-2-1-2. Just but things change and build up too. Um, uh, so I expect I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a double pivot, but also one of those players has a little bit more freedom than the other, because the other one has a little bit greater defensive responsibility. So at times it's a little fluid. Could even be more offset 4-2-3-1 in a way, which allows one of those dual pivots to be a little bit deeper than the other, if you kind of offset it. So I'm curious to see what it looks like on match day 1, but I am expecting a 4-3-3, with one kind of more anchoring defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I kind of expect it to be 4-3-3 also, but I just harken back to his FCKC days when he often played a 4-2-3-1, and it gave him the freedom. And of course, typically one of the 2 defensive mids was Desi, except for the year she went on walkabout in England. And he always had really good defensive mids in that spot, and one with a little more freedom to go forward. Jenna Richmond, Jen Biskowski, just players like that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that just the world has changed and there's not as many 4-2-3-1s right now. So I do think he'll go with a more traditional 4-3-3, but so much depends on who's healthy and who's available and what they expect from Portland in that first game.
Yeah.
Because I know I saw one of the coaches a couple of days ago, not at the Current, and I was trying to be good and not probe for information. So I was just kind of like generically saying, "Oh, you ready for Portland?" And the coach very, very studiously said, "Well, we're still breaking down the tactics, and we're doing this, and and he was." I'm like, "No, stop! I'm trying to be good here. I'm not trying to probe you for information." So,
yeah.
So yeah, they will have it figured out. All right. What else were you wanting to talk about today, sir?
I mean, that's my questions. I've done my hosting duties for tonight. So
Okay, just for everybody's reference, somebody texted me while I was at an event saying, "Hey, you want a pod tonight? I want to talk Current." It's not exactly how he said it, but it's pretty
I
close.
did not say I want to talk Current. I just said pod tonight because I have the rest of the week is busy, insanely busy. So
All right, so
figured we get one in.
we've covered stadium issues in prior things. We've covered food in the last one. Uh, we've talked about roster in the past. We've talked about this. How much do you think the opening day hype, the opening day excitement, the opening day atmosphere of the first purpose-built stadium for a women's professional team? Did I get that right? It's supposed to be in quotes. I'm supposed to have that brainwashed into me now. How
Yep.
much do you think all of that will play into either the current being overhyped and making a dumb mistake, or just running over the opponent because of the big excitement, or both?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's going to be on. I think there's going to be nerves both ways, right? This is as monumental as this is for the current. Like the Portland Thorns are still playing in this. This is an environment that they'll have literally never dealt with before. In a stadium, a match day, a locker room, everything's completely different. It changes up routines. It does all of that. It's going to be a insane crowd for that game. I expect it to be very energetic and loud. Now, Portland has a very good atmosphere that they're playing. They're used to playing in these in loud environments and lots of crowd, lots of noise, all that stuff. But I also think like this is their first game. They've had a few changes in the off season. One of their biggest acquisitions to their team was Jesse Fleming, which has been with Canada for most of the preseason training. As much as the current have had players away, so have the Thorns. Sophia Smith just had the whole Gold Cup. Multiple players, were away on Gold Cup. They lost Natalie Kuika. I mean, it's a little bit different Thorns team. I thought Natalie Kuika was a really good asset to the way that they wanted to play and build out of the back and play this kind of inner pretty passing soccer. So they have some changes. There's a little bit less depth there. It's different. And so I think there's going to be a little bit of nerves for the monument or for the moment as well. So I think it's going to be a nervy first 10 minutes until somebody does something and it clicks in either team and you start going. But I expect Vlaco to have players up for this one. I think there's going to be a lot of energy put into that first 10-15 minutes of the game, and it'll be about writing that out. Either taking advantage of it to a point where you can ride that out the rest of the game, or not throwing so much into it that you don't have anything left towards the end of the game.
I don't remember his exact wording the other day, but I think I asked about, how hyped everybody is to be playing in that game. And he actually commented something along the line of how they're actually kind of downplaying it because they don't want the players to get only focused on that. So I think that's smart. I think it's also going to be really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Any last words? Any words of wisdom?
I thought you wanted to talk opening day lineup.
Oh, yeah. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
got 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes. Okay. Run it for me. Left to right and go in order left to right.
Izzy, Ball, Stina, Mace. D-mid, I will say Desi to start. Di Bernardo or Lowe. If Debinha is healthy and they don't, if there could be the possibility that they don't want to start her just because of having recently rejoined the team. So I could say Di Bernardo and Lowe, or Di Bernardo and Debinha with Lowe coming off the bench. I would hate to see Lowe not start though, just because she's kind of the heart of the team at most times. I will say Hammy. Man, this is hard at this point. You do the rest of the lineup. You start. I'm thinking.
All right. So I'm going to go left to right. I'm going to go AD in goal, obviously.
Yeah, I skipped
I'll
over that
keep
because that
the
was too obvious.
Same back four: Izzy, Stina, Ball, Mace. I've got Claire Hutton and Lowe in the midfield as a dual pivot. I'm gonna buy into the dual pivot, and then we're gonna go the dual pivot, but with one of them, as you say, having the responsibilities to lie deeper. We'll go from left to right. I'll say Temwa, Debinha, and Michelle Cooper, and Hammy up top.
I think that one of those people you named as a forward may not be available for this weekend. I don't know if I should say who yet. So I know I hate to be doing that, but I think one of those may not be available for this weekend. We'll find out on probably Friday for sure.
Shame on you, Thad.
I Why do you think I was struggling so hard to give you a front three?
That's okay.
That's again not definitive, but I do think that that's probably accurate.
So is there an injury that we don't know about?
Potentially.
Okay.
I don't think it's long lasting, so don't take it like it's a season ending thing or anything like that. We know that Nichelle is out.
Correct.
And I think one of the forwards that we would have expected to be available won't be. So all right, man. Any other questions that I can answer?
No more questions. I think that I feel like we've covered what we need to cover. Prediction. Give me your scoreline for first ever match at CPKC Stadium, the first purpose-built stadium for a women's professional sports team in the world.
3-1 current.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say the first goal scorer is Portland.
Ooh. That's no fun. I say 2-1 current. I say they're up 2-0. Portland gets one back through Soph. And then that's that. I will go first goal. I've said it all along. I think it'll be Debinha. So Deb's going to get that first goal, I think.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say Izzy Rodriguez.
Okay.
Probably not, but what the hell?
I mean, if it is, it's going to be an absolute rocket. So I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'll go with her. I'm an Izzy stan at the moment. I think that's it.
All right.
We are officially out.